Officer Oatis Will. On Wednesday, April 2, 2025, at around 1 hours, Frisco Police Department officers were dispatched to Frisco Independent School District, FISD, David Kuykendall Stadium, 6927 Stadium Lane, Ray, Frisco, Collin County, Texas, in reference to a stabbing victim call. Frisco Police Department Emergency Communications was receiving an emergency call regarding an athlete that was stabbed. The originally unknown assailant was a black male wearing a gray hoodie and blue sweatpants and also had a goatee and short hair. The subject was possibly wearing Centennial High School, Centennial attire, as it was believed he was a student there for the sporting event. This had all taken place on the visitors' side of the stadium, north side, and the victim was under the Memorial High School memorial tent in the bleachers. At around this same time, School Resource Officer SRO Cortez arrived on scene and began assisting the victim, trainers, and the other parties. Officer Cortez also advised on the radio that he also had the suspect. Sergeant Oatis was working the 50s sector as the sergeant. He was in full Frisco Police Department uniform with distinct patches and badge and a police duty belt. He was also in a marked Frisco Police Department patrol vehicle, number 2315. He was relatively close to the call and placed himself on it at around 1002 hours and responded to the call with his patrol vehicle's overhead emergency lights and sirens activated. He arrived to the call at around 1006 hours. Sergeant Oatis arrived to the stadium and began walking up to the location. At around this time, Officer Cortez and Officer Ricci were walking a black male subject, the suspect, away from the stadium. The suspect was crying hysterically. Please see the other involved officers' narratives for their involvement. Sergeant Oatis walked up to the visitor bleachers and observed the victim being treated by Frisco Fire Department, FFD personnel, and also the athletic trainers. The weather began to turn, and it began to heavily downpour rain. At this time, some of the FISD staff moved the memorial tent to cover the victim and the FFD personnel. Sergeant Oatis began using his city-issued phone to snap crime scene photos to preserve as much of the scene as possible due to the weather and the large gathering of people that were involved in the incident. Other officers began to set up a crime scene with tape moving non-essential personnel out of the immediate area. The officers on scene were informed that the knife that was used was tossed and was still believed to be somewhere close. Eventually, one of the witnesses said they remember seeing it on the bleachers still. Officer Schultz was able to locate the knife. It was located between rows 9 and 10 near seat 30, closest to the aisle, partially open. The rain began to come down again heavily, and it was determined that instead of moving the knife, the officers would cover it with a large blue tarp. Sergeant Oatis assisted in preserving the immediate crime scene as much as possible, while the other personnel tended to the victim and eventually transported him. At around this time, Officer Wetzel had the crime scene log and began logging the individuals on the call to the best of his abilities. Lieutenants Crawford and Pemberton relieved Sergeant Oatis of the scene. Sergeant Oatis went back to the police department to download his body cam and the photos he looked with the city-issued phone. Sergeant Oatis's city-issued phone had a total of 33 photos that were used to document the incident scene. During the download, the initial photos formatting was incompatible with the crime scene folder. He re-downloaded the photos that he took, and they were able to be saved properly for preservation of evidence. At this time, there is nothing further to add to this report.